Hi there! I know you guys love a good sound, so that's why you have to watch my new interview with Jeff Jacobs from J Quarter that I made in Denver at the Rocky Mountain Audio Fest. So like, share and subscribe to my channel. See you, enjoy!
Okay.
Hi, how are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Pretty good. Are you tired?
A little bit.
Did it go well for you?
So far, so good, yeah.
Okay, good, great. So tell me how is it going and what you brought here?
Every year we like to bring something a little new, a little different. We've been doing this since 1968. Been a Techniques dealer all that time. We specialize in the reel-to-reels. We've always been tape people. Love the sound of it. We think it's the best source you can get. So it's kind of in our blood, really. And when Techniques came out with a new product, they contacted us and wanted to know if we'd be willing to be a dealer and to try to expand.
When did it happen? When did they contact you?
About 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah. We've been a dealer ever since, and we've continued to do the reel-to-reels. And I would say most of the jobs that we do are people calling us that want a specific model, specific style and color and all that stuff. Cosmetics seems to be very important to a lot of people. They want something in their main listening room that complements the room and the furniture and whatnot. So the cosmetic aspect is quite important to most people.
What do you enjoy most in this process?
I love the music. I'm 71 years old now, and I've been doing this all my life. And if it wouldn't be for my enjoyment of music, I wouldn't be doing this.
When did it start? Like all this story?
I started.
How old were you?
How old was I? I was probably, let's see, I was 21 when it started.
What happened?
We had the retail store in Green Bay, Wisconsin for the longest time. And then I left Green Bay. I had a little store in Casper, Wyoming for a while. And then when Techniques quit making the products, I stopped. And I did old cars until about year 2000. And then when Techniques came back into play, I became a dealer again. And it was about 10 years ago or so, I'd say, I ran into a Techniques reel-to-reel at an estate sale up in Seattle. And we had sold reel-to-reels, all the brands throughout the years when we were in retail. So I knew that the Techniques was a great machine. And at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of companies showing reel-to-reels at the shows. I never really gave it a second thought. I bought the machine for $300, cleaned it up, bought a brand new tape, and when I first listened to it, I realized how much I missed the sound of analog. So listening to CDs and digital and all that. And when I got that tape deck done, the analog sound just jumped out at me. And I'd always gone to the consumer shows, especially the one in Las Vegas. A friend of mine was still in the business, and I called him up and said, hey, I'll come down, I'd like to come down to the show. And I got this Techniques reel-to-reel that I could bring it along. And he said, sure. I had no intention of selling this stuff. None. I was down there to see the show and my buddy, and I brought the tape deck, and when I walked out of that show, I had 4 people that wanted me to make them a tape deck.
Wow.
So I went back to Seattle. I didn't know what to do. I had nothing.
But did you like it? Were you happy? What did you feel?
I was, I would say I was surprised, and I was a little bit nervous because I didn't have anything. I had that one tape deck. I had no test equipment, no parts,
That's
nothing.
a challenge.
It was a challenge. And I thought, well, I'm going to see what I can do. And at the very first, I bought a couple of machines relatively cheap off eBay and started to fix them up a little bit. And I got them running, but they weren't really, to my satisfaction, a frontline product. So I decided the only way that I can do this is if I take that machine apart and totally put it back together. It was a scary prospect. There's so many parts inside of those things. So I took
How long did it take you, the whole
to take it apart and put it together?
Yeah, to make it?
The very first time I did it, I had two machines side by side. And there were so many parts in there, I didn't dare take one totally apart. I didn't think I'd ever get it back together. So I took one about halfway apart, left the other one sitting there so I could see how everything went. And then I took a third machine and I went even further. So I had one that was gutted down, one here and one here that were at different stages of disassembly. So I knew how to get that first one back together. And once I got that first one back together, needless to say, when I hit the power button and play, I was hoping it would work. It did.
What a relief!
Yeah, it was a relief. And I would say after I got the second or third machine together, it became second nature to me after that. Everything made sense, the mechanics and all that. And
Wow.
I realized that this is something I wanted to do. It wasn't for money. I didn't do it to get in and make money. I did it because I love the music.
Yeah, that's
And it was fun. I mean, I always enjoyed it.
Like the story with music? When did you start listening to music? When did you understand that you love it, that you want to?
All my life, I think. Well,
Your parents were musicians, or
no. My parents were hard workers. We never had a stereo in our house. We were lucky we had a black and white television.
This is interesting.
Really.
But where did you hear it for the first time? Like
In a
you
car.
remember in a car?
Yeah, I heard
What
tape
was
in
it?
a car.
What was it?
The car?
No, the music. If you remember.
Couldn't tell you.
You don't know.
Don't know.
But what did you think? How old were you?
I was probably 17.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time that I had heard music at a louder level, and I was surprised.
Was it something a classical rock,
No,
country?
it was like a jazzy. I think it was
something.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. If I
Oh,
remember
okay.
right.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I love it.
And, it was on a little cassette tape, and, it kind of amazed me that little cassette could put that kind of sound out. So I just got interested in tape, and started at stereo store with one of my friends. Started handling some lower end products, and gradually worked our way up into the bigger stuff. But I always had tape recorders, whether it was an 8-track, cassette, L cassette, reel to reel, whatever. I always loved the sound of tape.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 70s, when these manufacturers started getting real serious, Revox, Studer, Sony, Technics, Pioneer, all of them started 10-inch machines, getting really good machines. We had them all in the store. So I was lucky enough to grow up in that era where I was able to play with all this stuff, get to know it. And I just always loved it.
What do you think about the future of this stuff? What's happening now in audio industry? Does it have any future?
I would say it's here to stay no matter what, simply because it's the best source. It's literally sounds better than any other source. And most people will agree with that. I've been in contact with the people at Technics in Japan, trying to see if they would be willing to make a machine again, because their machine is a dynamite machine, always has been. I haven't gotten a flat no. It's like we don't have any plans at this time.
Mm-hmm.
When they came back with the heavy-duty turntables, they had a lot of requests for it, but one of the deciding factors over there was that some of the guys that were responsible for making the turntables in the first place were still alive. They were around 90 years old, but they were still alive. So they were able to gather up some of these people to make the new turntable, and they still had that knowledge. So it was a task for them to do it, but it was a lot easier of a task because the people that knew how to do it were still there. Well, the reel-to-reel is not that case. The people involved in the design and everything of that were all dead. So they're sitting there right now with all digital stuff, really good digital stuff, and an analog turntable. And I really do believe that they know the sound quality is the best with tape. It's just getting them to say yes, but without any of those people alive, they're kind of wondering in no man's land. That, they'd have to start over basically.
I see.
I've offered to go over there, stay over there as long as I had to help with the design of a new machine. They had like four to six models, and for what most people need and want, I know how to incorporate all of those options on those 4 machines to make one machine. I wouldn't have to have all these models any longer. I'm very, very confident that I could help them with that design. I'm still willing to do it if they think they might want to. I don't know if it's what might make them come off the fence would be how many are we going to sell, how much are we going to make, or can we do it and how long it'll take. I don't know. I'm certainly not going to give up because I do believe it's here to stay. It wouldn't have progressed like it has if it wasn't a good product. And I've been doing, 10 years ago that event in Las Vegas, and I started with nothing. I'm up now to, I have over 150 machines in stock, all the models.
So, but the event in Las Vegas is huge. It's the best in the United States, or
my inventory?
Yes.
Yeah,
or the one you were talking about.
We sell these things worldwide, so I mean we have customers all over the world.
But it's the best show, in your opinion. It's in Las Vegas. Okay.
So I'm 100% confident it's not going to stop. It's just that right now the only way for these people to get these machines is to have someone take an existing machine and rejuvenate it as good as they can. I picked the techniques at first because I thought they were the best machine. I still do. Mechanically, they're an electromechanical marvel, really. And a lot of the parts and machines were somewhat readily available because they made so many of them. As far as acquiring all these machines, I didn't go out on eBay and buy them. Oddly enough, most of them came from colleges where they had music programs. They put them in a closet when digital came out. So I've already gotten a dozen machines.
How do you find them? You contact all the colleges? They call you. They know you. Okay.
They heard of me and they call and we've got this stuff. Do you think you might want it? We got 12 machines sitting in a closet. If you want to come and get them and give us $1,000, you can have them.
Wow.
So I started acquiring these things. Several recording studios that went all digital. I got all their machines. One in Los Angeles. I think I got about 10 of them out of there. So over a 10-year period, one way or another, I've been able to acquire a lot of machines. I'm not hurting for inventory, and I have all the models, so if someone wants this one or that one or whatever, I can make it for them.
Wonderful.
I'm backed up. I have been for a few years. It takes me about 60 days to build a machine from start to finish. And what I do with every customer, because they're all different. They all want a different color. They all want something different.
How do you like to work? How do you work at night?
No, I'm up early in the morning. I'm usually out by my bench about 6 o'clock, and I work until 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I don't really take any days off because sitting in a weekend on a Saturday or Sunday, what am I going to do anyway?
Yeah.
So I might not spend as much time on a weekend, but I'm doing this every day.
And how do you test it? Do you have any preferred tape or music?
We use ATR tape. It's a newly manufactured tape, and I have all the MRL calibration tapes. So these machines are made and calibrated to use ATR tape, and the tape is phenomenal. I mean, it'll handle a tremendous signal compared to the old tapes, so you can really wind up the record levels without any distortion. You end up with a real dynamic tape. I make all my own tapes directly from a CD on my workbench right to the tape deck, so I don't go out and buy $400 or $500 tapes for the shows. And I find it's just me. I know there'll be a lot of guys that might not agree, but I believe I can make a better tape than you can buy. Now, yours here that we're listening to, I think they're an exceptionally good tape.
Thank you very much.
You know, and
So nice
I'm
of
not
you.
just saying that because
Yeah,
you're
thank
here.
you. I'm so happy.
I've listened to a lot of those pre-recorded tapes, and it's really a roll of the dice. You know, for someone to pay $400, I can honestly say, and I truly believe I can make a tape that's better than most of the high-priced tapes that are out there. And I think the reason being, you know, if people understand how these so-called master tapes are made, the recording studio, in the first place, will have a 2-inch tape or a 1-inch tape, bunch of tracks on there. That tape doesn't leave that studio. You know, I mean, there might be one or two somebody can sneak out or whatever, but that basically stays there. So if somebody wants to make a tape to sell, they have to get a copy of that master. That then goes to another place that will take that second generation tape and dub it down to a 1/4 track machine or a 1/4 inch machine 2-track. So in essence, what you're getting most all the time is a 3rd generation tape. It's not a master. The master's in the studio. Now, quality-wise, back in the 70s when we were listening to records, some records sounded better than others. It's just the way it was. If you got like an A&M record, Herb Albert's company, or a GRP, or a Sheffield Lab, or several of those companies, those records sounded great. Some of the other records sounded terrible. And reason being, you know, bands back then, even today probably, they had to rent these studios for so many dollars an hour. They get in there, they don't have a huge budget. They have to go to a studio that might not have the absolute best equipment. So they know they got to be in and out in 2 hours or 3 hours. So the guy sitting by the mixing console, he doesn't have a ton of time to sit there and try this or try that, you know, to work it out as good as they can. They get in there and they get that job done and get that album made, and whatever it is, it is. If it's not that great, it's not that great, but they get that thing done. Others have the better equipment, they have the time, the wherewithal to do 10 or 15 takes or whatever in order to get that sound as good as it can be. So when you end up with a 3rd generation tape of that master, you end up with a pretty good sounding tape. But it's a roll of the dice. I mean, you know, if there's 100 titles out there, I would venture to guess that 75 of them don't sound that good. Another factor is the selection of the music. There's copyright laws. So if there's like a current modern pop album that a lot of people listen to, for the most part, something like that's going to be nearly impossible for somebody to reproduce because they got to pay a huge copyright fee, and they're never going to sell enough tapes to recover their investment. So the titles are obscure for the most part because the guys don't have to pay huge copyright fees, or in some cases they don't have to pay any. So to me, I'm glad to see the pre-recorded tapes out there because it brings a lot of interest to tape itself. It's not too often that I hear a tape like yours that I can really say, yes, that really sounds great. It's not that often that happens.
I'm very lucky to be here. You can imagine how happy I am.
Yeah, I'm telling it. I'm telling you the truth. It's exactly how it is.
Thank you very much.
So it's easier for me to get a case of ATR tape, which is great tape, sit by my workbench with a halfway decent CD player, nothing major, no $1,000 patch cords or anything like that. You know, a halfway decent patch cord coming from the CD player right into the tape deck. I can listen to my little system there while I'm doing the recording. Every time I do it, if I switch in between the CD and the tape sounds better. Technically, logically, I don't know. I mean, we're analog creatures, so maybe we respond to analog better than digital. It doesn't wear on you. But the sound is like deeper, thicker. You know, everybody uses the term warm. Maybe that has something to do with it, but it's a smoother, more natural.
But I think it's very, it's a very individual feeling. You can't really put it into words.
No.
I think sometimes you just feel it, or you feel it, or you don't feel it, right?
Right, and you can definitely feel that you're listening to something special, something different, and you can listen to it for a long period of time, and you don't get fatigued. You don't start. The high frequency doesn't bite.
True.
So
I agree.
I believe that format is here to stay. And you're seeing a lot of different guys now, redoing the machines and whatnot. I do think we were one of the very first ones that started doing it big, full time, I would say. We showed at CES one year, and I think we took like 16 machines down there. And when people would come into the room, we never saw this many reel-to-reels in our life. So it was working for us. And we just kept doing it. And the more, we saw tape coming into the forefront, the better it was for us. There's some people that make these machines that charge $25,000-$30,000 for them. Mm-hmm. I wholeheartedly believe that our machine sounds as good or better and works as good or better, and definitely has, at least as good a sound or better than most. So I'm very confident with the Techniques machine that it'll hold its own with almost any of them. And we can sell them for about half the cost of what other guys sell them for. Mm-hmm. So business for us is, I don't want to say it's, real easy to come by, but it's not hard to come by either. We get contacted all the time, from people all over the world. And a lot of it is word of mouth. We have a fair amount of machines in Australia. And I'm sure we sell a machine to somebody and their friend comes over. Oh, I like that. I like the looks of it.
It takes time, but it works this way. Yeah, I know.
It works. They look at our website and they can see all these different colored machines and all these different options, and it's like going and buying a new car almost.
Yeah, that's true.
You want a black one or a red one, or you want this interior or that, or these options or whatever. So it's pretty flexible for the customer. And we have a lot of different options, not just colors, but, mechanical options that make the machines better. You can get a lot of gold-plated stuff. You can basically get whatever you want to suit your decor in your listening room. And that's made it, fairly nice for people to buy. They like the ability to do that. So I don't know. The other factor really is I love doing it.
That's important.
If I didn't really love making these machines, I wouldn't do it either. I don't want to say I don't care if we make any money. Obviously, you want to make some, but like I said before, I'm not in it to make $1 million on this stuff or whatever. Mm-hmm. I really feel good when I'm done with the machine and it goes to Australia or wherever. Because I really think that I'm bringing something to somebody where they can really enjoy the music. And that's what I do. I really enjoy the music. So I feel as though I'm contributing a little bit somehow anyway.
And when do you go next? What is your next show?
We only do this one a year. That's all we have been doing. We do it in conjunction with Techniques. Mm-hmm. It's easier for us. Techniques will bring some of the equipment.
Yeah, it's always easier with someone, right? It's to have.
We complement each other, but in the past, like when we took 16 machines to Las Vegas, I had to take a truck, a great big trailer, go through mountain passes in the winter. It was a task.
I can imagine.
So now, like for these shows here, I can load up my Murano and it's packed, to get our stuff in here. But it's a nice, comfortable drive, and I'm not towing around a great big trailer. Mm-hmm. So, like for us to do a ton of shows, we don't. I don't think we have to, actually. You know, if we keep ourselves out for one show a year, meet a lot of our friends and people we made machines for, that's really good enough.
Okay.
I think the CES shows at the outset were good because they kind of put us on the map. You know, you get people out, you know, writers and guys all over the world at that show, and a lot of them that came in and saw, wow, you know, somebody's doing this or whatever. We get articles in different magazines all over the joint, and it helped. It put our name out there. But after, I think we did like 3 years in a row down there, and after that, we looked at that show as an enormous expense. We didn't think that it was worth it. You know, the money we had to spend, the effort we had to put into it, it just wasn't getting us the result that the first few did. So we stopped. And then it was, I don't know, 2-3 years before we decided to go to another show. And it was in Southern California, Newport Beach. And the only reason why we wanted to go to the show, but I had some friends down there I hadn't seen in a long time, and some customers that we had done machines for. So it was a chance to go down there and meet a lot of people, customers and friends, and do this show. And we did that one for a couple of years, and it was okay. Not a great show, but it was a good show. And it was relatively easy to get in and out, which is a big problem, you know, for, you know, exhibitors. You got a truckload of stuff. It can be a major problem.
I know, it's tough. I know, I've been there too.
It's very tough. And a lot of times it gets to be a deciding factor in whether you go or not. Like to go to Las Vegas, it's not just driving that truck and that trailer. It's getting in and out of that Venetian hotel. It can be a major problem. And getting out of there on a Sunday when the show ended, where you got to sit in your room till midnight to get your packing boxes back, it's not only frustrating, I mean, it's just, it ends up being no fun.
I know, I imagine.
So this show is fun. We can drive here in 2 days. I don't have to have a truck and a trailer. We do it in conjunction with Techniques, which makes it a lot easier. And I don't see that we'll be changing that for the foreseeable future. I mean, we plan on being here every year. This will be the only show that we do.
Okay, I see.
Next year we'll probably bring more machines. Last year we had 4. We have had some people say, wow, you know, how come we only brought 2 machines this time? So we may bring 4 machines next year. We'll see. We'll see how it works out.
So I'll see you next year then.
Oh yeah.
Maybe even earlier.
You'll be here for sure.
So thank you very much. It's a great interview. Thanks a lot.